Hi. Well, I'm back working on the Suburban. It is a wonderful May day, but it's snowing. I got all my parts in from Rock Auto. Um, Here, another shameless plug for you. Cap, rotor, plugs, plug wires. I got some miscellaneous other ignition parts, some wires, and then know what's going to be broken. And go from there. I'll show you where I'm at right now. So here's where I'm at. I got the old plugs out, the new plugs in. Pulled the cap off, about to pop the rotor off. You can see inside cap, not terrible. Could maybe clean it up, but I don't. I got a new one and it's kind of showing its age. So I'm gonna just replace it because I got it here. Also, while I was in here, noticed the carburetor missed this vacuum line. Had a little plug on it, and why they just didn't pop that back in. Seems like some vacuum advanced tracing it back to the choke. Why they didn't hook that up, I don't know. Guy said he replaced the carburetor on it. Kind of looks like it has quite the intake leak, so I'm gonna go through, get it all adjusted up, see if I can adjust it and make it run right. And if not, I'll probably be getting a carburetor for it, and then maybe some kind of a different intake plane or something. But also noticed this guy right here is kinked. I mentioned it before, but starting to pull up a little bit of coolant there, so that's got to get addressed. Power steering line, that's got quite a bit of oil on it. Looks like it goes up to the cooler. I'll probably just get some decent lines and flare them and make them so they're not going to leak, and just make it a little bit cleaner in here, because I think that's a lot of where all the oil and stuff's coming from. Also, I think the valve covers might just be leaking, so I might get some new valve cover gaskets and then address those. But hopefully that's all. But let me get you in here on the rotor. About to pop that off. Old school today, with underneath the hood on one knee and the ladder, and outside because the garage is full. But it is what it is. Try to do this one-handed, but I got these two screws off. Already got loosened up. Pop it off, and you can see setup in there. Looks like it's point setup. Whatnot. So we'll see. Okay, so there's a comparison of the old one to the new one. Doing pretty light compared to the old one, but this kind of seems like it's original. Pretty worn. Yeah. So also, while I was in here, noticed that the bracket right there for the coil was missing a bolt, so going through, fished me out a bolt. I hope it works. Clean it up some. Gonna throw that in, maybe help anchor it a little bit better, make me feel like I'm accomplishing something. But put everything back in its place. It kind of already looks like somebody was definitely in here working on it. I got all these little oddball connectors and some kind of a green wire that goes up and over and into the firewall. Maybe is a jumper. It's not original, not in the harness from up there. Different caps on it, you know, just that, you know, it's been, I'll just say, modified. So I'm gonna go through, clean some of this stuff up, get it all put back together, and see what she does. I got snow, then it rains, then the sun comes out and heats up to like 48 degrees. Huh. It's not fun. So far the coil bracket's back in there. It's secured now. I'm now going to drop the coil back on there and put the little resistor in there. I think I have one of those resistors on the side of the coil right there. In fact, I know I do. It's right there. Might change it out. Might not. I think I'm just going to not right now and just have it on the shelf in case trial and error. Go from there. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now. Okay, got the plugs, cap, rotor back on. For whatever reason, I have these really super short plug wires. They're not going to work on the back there even. So I had to use old plug wires, which I really don't like doing, but that'll get me through for right now. So what I'm going to do is fire this thing up, see if it runs, check for leaks around the base of the carburetor with some brake cleaner, see if it perks up. If it does, I know I have an intake leak and I'll have to get a new gasket, figure out the carburetor, do some adjusting on that to make sure it's where we need it to be. So, get this thing fired is just chirping away. Dry rotted. That one's pretty bad. So, well, she's back running. So now I'll probably get my vacuum gauge out, hook that up, and see what kind of vacuum we got. See if I can adjust the idle down some more, get that linkage to cooperate a little bit better. Yeah, I don't know if it's that adjustment screw or spring or what it is, but I'll get that thing adjusted up. See if I can get it running a little smoother. So I got the Suburban on hold for a bit. As you can see, I'm kind of cleaned up. Had to jump on the road to come get a couple fenders for the Suburban and a radiator support for the 85. So Puppers and I taking a little trip on a rocket ship. Not really. No, we're just cruising over to Saginaw, Minnesota. It's about a 4-hour drive away. Yeah, really good deal. You guys got some matching fenders that I need and radiator support. So maybe he's got some other parts he mentioned. We'll see. But yeah, that's what I'm doing. Might spend the night, do some rail fanning, check some sites out in Duluth around here. I've never been there. Kind of excited. So that's what I got. I'll get more into the Suburban when I get there. I do have to stop and get some parts for it. I noticed that the belts, of course, you heard of squeaking. They're squealing, not because they're old and cracked like I mentioned before, because the one for the power steering pump, the pulley's off, and what it looks like is when they did the water pump on it, they didn't put the proper spacing back in on the power steering pump, so it's actually sitting back towards the block more. With that, it's got a little bit of a to it, so the belt is prematurely rubbing a little bit harder on the pulleys, and that's what's causing the awful squeak. So that would explain why it goes away when it warms up, because it's basically just warm. So fix that, shim it up with a couple washers. I have to get some vacuum caps for that carburetor, and I have to probably figure out what I want to do for power steering lines, because you saw the ones are leaking. So I think I'm just gonna do some kind of a braided line, flare it at on the steel ends. That way I don't ever have to worry about it again. Just kind of crimp them down with some good braiding, because I don't want none of that blowing off when I'm cruising on it. So that's this update. I'll get you some more here when we get back at it. Okay, forgot what day I'm on. Got the Suburban parts. Got new belt, stuff for an oil change. I got brake fluid. What else did I get? I got my vacuum gauge so I can adjust that carburetor. Got a bunch of cleaner, so I'm going to clean up the engine compartment, pressure wash it, get it all cleaned up. What else did I do? Oh, I got those vacuum caps. Yep. So I went to Harbor Freight, and that's the vacuum kit that I got. So hopefully that'll work out. I'm gonna learn how to use that here. Bought a inline fuel filter, and these help vacuum tubies cover up the carburetor stuff. Hose clamp, tube cutter, so I can probably put that fuel filter in line just to get her kind of going. Those are the belts, and what I found out is those belts are the same exact size for the alternator and power steering pump. And then I went and did the Vice Grip Garage deal and bought the cheapest diesel I could find, diesel oil. So apparently it has all sorts of dinosaurs and good stuff in it for the engine. Also went ahead and put a half a can of Berryman's in the crank to kind of clean out some stuff to get it running. Dump the rest of it into the gas tank with some fuel stabilizer and some more fresh gas, just to keep stuff from gelling up. Alright, as I mentioned, gonna do a tune-up on this thing just so it's running right. Gonna replace this awesome sparkulator holder plugger upper with some of these vacuum caps. Fuel line is just dry, very, very, very dry. So my plan is to put this fuel filter in line there, and I have some new hose I'm going to put on there, and then put some clamps on it, and then I'm going to go through, see if I can get this thing figured out in tuning, because I've never tuned a carburetor before, so figure all that out. Well, I got updates. I didn't really care for the way that was, so I put a little bit more bend in that, got it to swoop over, shorten those hoses up, so that way I don't got any extra hose floating around. So I like that a little bit better. Now I'm going to move on to alternator belt and then getting this lined up a little bit better because it's a little cattywampus, and I think I know why. So I got the alternator belt off, loosened up, right? Got this here power steering pump loosened up, and I figured out why it is off centered. If you look down in here, there's a bracket down there. And there's supposed to be a bolt that goes into, boop, the back side of that. Well, I don't know if you can see that. It's snapped off. So, the belt is not going to be lined up directly with that. So my thinking is I have this here 305 bracketry thing going on here. I'm gonna see if I can't maybe take that off and use it. I don't know. We'll see. More to come. Good morning. I don't know what day it is of working on this thing. Made some progress. Let me show you. Got the power steering pump back on. What I did was I took a bracket from that 305, got a smaller bolt, smallest the hardware store had, so that you use a bazillion washers, and got it spaced up though right. Tighten that down. The belt is still a little not as tight as I would like it to be, but I can't really adjust it. But pump's secure and it's pretty straight. Also got the alternator side back on, fuel pump is on, and I did get some new hose for the CVAP to go down to, looks like the fuel return somewhere in there. So I'm gonna work on putting that on there. I found that this actually goes to this little spot on the carburetor that I have plugged off, but the hose that I got is not right. So I'm gonna either fab it up, maybe do like a reducer or something, or I'll just find another port on the carburetor to slip it onto. Seems more realistic because there's a couple, but I have to put that on after I tune it, which will be this little one right there. So I'm gonna whoop it around and whatever else, but it's kind of early to be running this, so I'm gonna do all the odds and ends that I can right now before 9 o'clock, so then that way after 9 o'clock I can just, you know, boom, 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 get it running. So going through, got the new line for the evap done. No more gas. That should help pull with the vacuum hooked up right. Trying to figure this wire out. Traced it back, goes up along the firewall, drops in there, and from what I figured out, comes in there and hooks up to trailer brake. Yeah, I don't know why the ground is all the way up there, but not the best place for it, I guess. It's just too much clutter and wire. I don't like having excess wires like that, especially ground. This is too much stuff to trace. But I mean, why right there? Maybe because it was easy? I don't know, but it goes right by that ground right there too. I don't know. So Got a couple wires I'm gonna trim back on, and I think I'm gonna maybe just address, I guess. I don't know. I don't like it, but I gotta deal with that, deal with the tack. Because the tack kind of goes weird. And I think that green wire right there on the coil is the tack wire where we're getting our tack feed from. So maybe something's up with it. Maybe it's the tack itself. I don't really like it on the steering wheel anyway. So I'm gonna address that as well. So that's kind of part one on where I'm at. Guess we'll stick around for part two, see where I get to.